Hi, this is Narrated, and today I'll be talking about the Next Generation Science Standards, or NGSS. The Next Generation Science Standards are transforming teaching and learning in the classroom. They are changing how students experience science by shifting the focus from the memorization of facts to greater student engagement in the actual processes of science. Elements that are relevant to a teacher or administrator include the international benchmarking results that provided the impetus for the change in science standards. The focus on facts is now viewed as not as important as the focus on engagement and understanding. There are three dimensions of the standards that I will be talking about, and the NGSS implementation pathway model focuses on three stages of implementing the standards: awareness, transition, and implementation. And more information I've linked to this page. So, an administrator who is interested in changing the standard instruction at school would follow these guidelines. International benchmarking. To be competitive in the 21st century, American students must have the knowledge and skills to succeed in college and in the knowledge-based economy. We are no longer competing with peers from states, but with students across the globe. And Achieve completed this study and found that all 10 countries that scored higher than the US in science assessment focused on teaching science in an integrated fashion rather than as grade level subject specific courses. And this was found in middle school and grades 9 and 10. There are other findings as well, but those are for later review. So the standards are focusing, instead of please name every type of cloud, on understanding how our clouds formed. There's a transition away from memorization of facts because students can easily access this knowledge from the databases on a computer. Here are the dimensions of the NGSS science practices. So the first dimension includes 8 key practices that good scientists and engineers have to follow. And this is akin to the math standards that are in existence for the Common Core. They're just universal skills that good scientists or mathematicians would have. So asking questions or defining problems, developing and using models, they carry across all of the disciplines of science. And dimension 2, the cross-cutting concepts, relate to the 7 overarching themes of science. So the fact that there exist patterns in nature, or that we have systems and follow models of systems for understanding scientific concepts. Now, the disciplinary core ideas in dimension 3 are more of the specific teaching points. They are related more to the details of science or a discipline. But instead of just memorizing cloud types, for example, a teacher would have to think, well, does this information qualify for at least two of these 4 criteria? So in order to be a core idea, there must be a broad importance or key organizing concept. The idea must have a key tool. It needs to relate to students' experiences or societal concerns, and the idea needs to be teachable and learnable. So it's not enough just to have one of these elements. It needs to have all 4 if it's going to become a disciplinary idea and a standard. And of course, all of these disciplinary ideas can be grouped into 4 domains: physical, life, earth and space science, and then engineering technology. Here are some elements that are relevant to a technologist. The report card will need to be changed to reflect the new standards, and this will vary according to a school's or district's implementation plan. It is unclear how the assessment will be administered, and so if this is an assessment that requires students to access a computer and also a lab site at the same time, structures will have to be in place such that enough spaces exist that students can all rotate through and test in the discrete time period that exists. Now, although California has adopted an integrated model in grades K through 8, no actual written curriculum exists. So, technologists are going to consider what is required when curriculums are written and make sure that their technology is adequate to run these resources that are available. And then again, technologists will need to update school and district curriculum and instruction web pages to reflect the new standards. So I looked specifically at the implementation at District X, and it's interesting because the plans vary in terms of how quickly the standards will be taught in elementary and middle schools. In elementary school, grades K and 1 are currently being taught using the NGSS, but in grades 2 through 5, the teaching is more strategic because some of those grade levels will still be assessed according to the California state science standards. And until we are sure that we are not going to be assessed on California state science standards, it's important that we continue to prepare students for that particular assessment. Now, there's more controversy in the middle school because teachers are very tenured to the idea of teaching science in a disciplinary way. And so, an administrator in charge would really have to think about an approach to make sure all stakeholders feel listened to and are also compliant with what has been adopted at the state level. So, the staff at the middle school is actually making presentation to the board in the coming weeks because they are pretty adamant that they do not want to partake in an integrated approach. So these are some sources that they cited that could be pros, so positive outcomes of an integrated approach, including other districts are integrated, and science currently is taught by topic, so they recognize that an integrated approach allows for taking a subject and teaching into the causations. And there is this emphasis in NGSS on scientific practices, and that is not necessarily as existent in the California state standards at this time. Now, here are their pros for a discipline-specific approach. So this would be a con integration. And the middle school teachers believe that they're a unique school with teachers who are specialists, and that the students are actually better taught because the teachers have particular experiences and passions that relate to their preferred curriculum. And by being discipline specific, the teachers believe they're able to go above and beyond the standards. They also cite the fact that when their students do leave the middle school, the students always feel prepared for high school. And, last but not least, it's really important that the test scores are strong, and the middle school teachers argue that as long as test scores are strong, it really shouldn't matter whether they're teaching it in an integrated or discipline specific way. My understanding from researching the national next generation science standards is summarized in this statement from a North County principal. And instead of reading verbatim, I'll just say that no matter what, students focusing on learning science according to the domains offered in the next generation science standards will have a experience that really focuses on the why and the causes. So the NGSS also emphasize the ideas of problem solving, design, and redesign. Whether it's an integrated or a discipline specific approach, we know that teaching students in this way is the best for students. Here are some additional websites related to implementation and information about NGSS. And I wanted to include some work of inspiring first graders and wanted to talk about why I chose to research NGSS. It is so important that we put students first, and I felt that these standards directly related to students. They could quickly affect student learning, and as opposed to studying standards or systems about organizing student data, I wanted to focus on understanding the standards that are going to directly affect learning before I tackled other systems of, storing and interpreting or managing student data. And that would be it. Thank you for listening to my presentation.